Yeah. Mitch is one of our own. He's the former senior technical editor of Keyboard Magazine, former editor-in-chief of EQ Magazine, Sweetwater editorial director. He's a writer, teacher, composer, clinician, live sound engineer, and mastering engineer. And I thought I was busy. He's also toured as a lead guitarist and vocalist. He's got a beautiful voice. Many of you heard that last night at the concert, as well as performing classical and steel string guitar. Be sure to check out his latest EP, Foundation. You can find that online anywhere great music is sold. Please welcome Mitch Gallagher.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much. Somebody was saying we should just like start inserting some things into those bios, just make stuff up and see if anybody catches it or not. Appreciate all those kind
I'm a great modern dancer.
Yeah, great modern dancer, yes. So I'm so happy to be here for this session because we have a chance to sit down with the real deal. And if you're a songwriter, this is a man that you definitely want to get to know, and you definitely want to check out his book, Song Journey. We're going to talk a lot about that in this session. But let's start with a little video here that will tell you more about Mark.
Thanks, Mitch.
Mark Cawley has had a storied career, first as a recording artist and then as an international multi-genre hit songwriter. He has had hits in pop, country, dance, R&B, jazz, and rock. His songs have appeared on over 16 million records. Here's a small sample of some of the legendary artists who have recorded his songs. Tina Turner, Joe Cocker, Diana Ross, Paul Carrick, Wynonna, Chaka Khan, Billy Piper, with the single that entered the UK charts at #1. In 2007, Mark turned his attention to helping songwriters and launched his online coaching service, I Do Coach. In his one-on-one web sessions and group workshops, he continues to coach songwriters around the world. On April 2nd, 2019, Mark's first book, Song Journey, entered the Amazon charts at #1 in 6 different categories. Song Journey is an easy-flowing guide to everything you need to know about songwriting from both the creative and business sides, intertwined with inspiring and humorous stories from his own journey. Now, please welcome Mark Cawley.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here. Oh, am I not on here?
I think they'll get you back on there.
Okay. We on? There we go.
There we go.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure to be here. I love Sweetwater, so welcome and thank you.
Well, this is an amazing opportunity, and I want to dive right in. But first of all, congratulations on #1 on Amazon.
You.
I mean, that's amazing in this day and age with the number of books that are out there. For that to jump up shows a lot about the interest that people have in songwriting and your generosity in sharing all your wisdom and experience. Because, man, I read the book, and there's so much incredible stuff in there. And I just want to read one quote to you here. So, honest and direct storytelling with just enough twists and turns to keep you coming back for more are the hallmarks of a great song. In his sterling literary debut, Song Journey, Mark Cawley applies his time-tested songwriting chops to show us the challenges, disappointments, and ultimate triumphs of that rarest of creatures, the successful professional songwriter. That's from Clyde Lieberman, who's an Emmy Award-winning supervising producer for The Voice, as well as Songland. So some major kudos coming your way there.
Thank you. I had to pay Clyde like crazy for that thing. That was great.
So the book is divided into 3 parts.
It is.
There's the process, the perils, and the payoff. And obviously you've done all this writing in so many different genres and your long career. So tell us about your process. How do you go about writing a song? Let's jump right in.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to do, guys, is take you through one song. So we're going to go back a little bit, and this will cover a lot of the process for sure, and probably we'll get into the perils and some of the payoff too. But I'm going to pick one particular song. So I'm going to take you back I was starting to get some songs recorded by artists. Diana Ross is one of the first ones. And now I got to a point where people are asking me to submit songs. So Tina Turner's Greatest Hits came up years ago. Tina at the time, probably the biggest artist on the planet. I was sort of prepared for this because it's something I would recommend you guys do as well. Because there were a lot of years when there was nobody asking me for a song or to do anything. So I'd pretend. I gave myself fake assignments. So I'd go, you know, if it's, let's say Rod Stewart asked me for a song, so I'm going to do what I would urge you to do. And that's a lot of homework. I would say, what keys does he sing in? What subjects does he tend to talk about? You know, what are the common denominators, the highest range? I'll look at the melodies. And so I was ready for this, right? And it's Tina Turner, and I'm thinking, this is fantastic. So, you know, I went after it. I will say, there is no one way to write a song, and we're going to talk about my favorite way. But again, however you come about this is good. But I would call myself a title writer.
So what does that mean? That title writer, where does that come from?
Yeah, it means, and there's a lot of writers I know that do this, and it means starting from a great title, because there are a couple of reasons. When people learn your song, they are going to pick up the chorus melody first. This is not my theory. This is the theory, really. They're going to grab that because they're not songwriters like you and I. They're just going to enjoy music. If that title is interesting, it's a little intriguing. It will give them a reason to see what happens. How did you do it? You know, and that's a little more interesting than another song that says "I love you a lot." You know, I mentioned in the book I was on a panel one time where someone said, "Well, if I write a song called 'I Love You a Lot' to a producer, what are they going to do?" And he said, "I've got one on my desk right now that says I killed my ex with his own axe." And he said, "Which one do you think I'm going to listen to?" So you can guess. There's an advantage of titles. And Rodney Crowell, who Mitch, you probably know him over the years, is an awesome writer. And he said inspiration is earned. And that's what I'm talking about. So you go look for ways to find titles to be inspired when you're not inspired, which is going to be a lot of the time for us.
So I think we have a list of, you have a slide here, right?
I do, yeah.
So you've got a list of titles here. Where do these titles come from? How do you come up with these, and then you just, okay, pick one of these and grab a guitar, or how do you work?
Pretty much. Number one, my favorite way has always been bookstores. Libraries are great. Movies and television are fantastic. Eavesdropping is a really evil, great way to get some ideas. You know, if you don't mind, like, listening to somebody and going, you know. Bookstores are tremendous. So, for example, I would go up and down aisles with something to write on, probably my phone these days, and I'm not going to pull a book down. Titles can't be copywritten, but I'm going to look for things that catch my eye, because if it catches my eye, it might be something that goes in my lines or my lyric list like this. And on a given day, if I don't have a really good idea, I'm going to go to this list and go, is there anything on here that's intriguing? Because, and in this exercise, guys, too, I would say don't pull the book down and read the back. Don't do anything. Just look at titles. Go to the library, and anything that catches your eye is going to be good for you in the future, you know?
It is an interesting approach. I actually do that and don't even, you know, I don't write lyrics. I write instrumental music. But still, the whole idea of having the title, I have a list of those and didn't even know I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. So I guess I get an A in this class, right?
Yes, you do. You got an A.
So when you pick a title then, how do you proceed?
Well, I'm going to bang away a little bit. So I will. Now, this particular Tina song that I'm mentioning, I had my title list, and this is not my real list. This is a list so that you can't steal my good lines. This is stuff I probably used. By the way, guys, when you get these lines, type them out and keep them in. I keep mine sort of peripheral vision. So if I'm sitting and playing like this, I'm going to take a look over here and say, does anything kind of gelling today? Knowing that if it's something on here that was intriguing, might be the deal today. So in this case, Tina Turner. And I'm thinking, okay, up-tempo, so I still use drum loops a lot. Not a metronome, a drum loop. Get the tempo up, think of the artist. In her case, I'm thinking big changes, so I'm going like... that kind of thing, right? And then I'm going to start humming to myself, which is I'd always recommend. Just drive everybody nuts, and just endlessly. I'm going na 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 na. Da na 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 da na 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 da na 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 da na 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 na. That's where I'm heading for the chorus, and now my eyeballs going. I don't have anything to say, so I look at this, and on that given day, I remember going na 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 na, and looked over and went, I wanna dance with a stranger, hold her in my arms. Close my eyes, make believe she's you. I need to dance with a stranger to take my hurt away, yeah, before I'm over you. Dance with a stranger fit right in that thing that I'd been humming and driving my wife and kids crazy with probably for days. But that's where the title came from and how it came in.
Right. So you have the melody then for the chorus. You have the title. Then do you sit down and just start writing lyrics, or how does the process go from there?
No. What I've learned, and I should say what I've learned is kind of the hard way and a good way. I've written with a lot of really good co-writers, some fantastic writers and artists. And you pick up a lot. I don't make this up. You look at somebody and think, wow, this technique is great. Brian Adams is a friend. And I talked to Brian about songwriting one time. Brian is an awesome hit maker, for sure. And he's pretty black and white. So I said, how do you write songs? And he went, what do you mean? And it's like I felt that small. And and I said, how do you write your songs? And you've had a million hits. And he goes, you write the chorus first. I'm like, you fool. And I said, well, I don't always do that. Why do you do that? And again, he said, you don't have a hit chorus, you don't have a hit song. Why bother? Now, people are writing for different reasons. I hope some of you are writing just for the love of writing, right? But if you are writing for the marketplace and to write a hit, this is where you're going. You're thinking about your chorus because, again, back to the guy or the girl in the car, that's how they're going to learn your song. And they may never learn the story or the verses or the bridge, right? So I'm going to begin there, and then I'm going to start thinking, okay, story. Where am I going to start lyrically? And here's a big one that writers make a big mistake with, and I know I did for years. You begin to be a writer, and I mean that in those awful quote things. You write. Like, remember the thespian on Saturday Night Live, the John Lovitz? That's what you do. You get fancy, and you get critical, and you get all, don't do any of that stuff. Start to make a list of the real things in your story. So in this story, I'm thinking Dance with a Stranger. I started thinking, what the story might be, and I close my eyes, and I'm going to start writing down real things. I don't care I don't want them to rhyme. I don't want them to look good. I want the real stuff, because the real stuff is the good stuff, guys. If you kind of, when I heard that phrase, I tried to remember it forever, because those real things that you know and you see, that's the stuff in your song. You don't need to be fancier than that. So
you're not writing lyrics then? You're just writing like a paragraph? Or you're
I'm writing, I'd probably be writing prose.
Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? Or can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, I would start with prose. And all prose is, guys, the best prose I ever heard in my life was in a screenwriter book. And someone said they were trying to sell the movie Alien to screenwriters, and they were having a terrible time telling people what it was about. And they had bad meeting after bad meeting. Finally, one of them got in an elevator with somebody who was a producer, and he said, what are you guys doing? And they said, well, we've got a movie idea. And he said, what is it? And they'd been shot down so many times, one of the guys went, it's Jaws on a spaceship. And it absolutely worked. He was like, come in and explain it to me, So that's what we're talking about with prose. Prose is don't rhyme, don't do any of that. Just write a couple of lines about what you're writing about. In the case of this song, I started thinking, this is probably, because it was for Tina Turner, I wrote from her life a little bit. I thought, this is a woman coming out of a bad relationship, Ike. Had a bad time with Ike, but I made up a character. So I thought, in my prose, this is a woman running from a bad relationship, going to a different town, and all she wants is human touch, to know she exists. No relationship, no commitment. So that was good prose. I don't think I knew what prose was then, but I think that's kind of what I said. And Mitch, like, one of the cool things about it is, as you write your song, keep looking at your prose. because all of us tend to, you get down to verse 3 and now there's a cat, you know, and there's all these things that were not in your original vision. So prose works in the beginning of your writing, it works at the end, which we'll talk about, but it's a way to double check yourself and stay writing about one idea, which most songs are about one idea and usually one emotion. Prose helps you remember what that emotion is.
You're kind of solidifying the story that you're telling
Exactly,
in the
yeah.
song as well,
In
right?
as few words as possible and double check.
Right, right. So we have a slide here, and this is the chorus then.
Yes.
So you're at the point where you've come up with your chorus, and you're happy with that. So then how do you take the prose and start to write your verses and probably a bridge and the other parts of the song?
That's a good question, and that's kind of what I touched on. Again, I'm going to go to the real thing. So I started making up a story. So I've got my, I want to dance with a stranger. Now I need to go somewhere else, right? And I started like a story would. I said, on a warm summer evening, I'm dancing to the radio alone. Don't need no conversation, just the sound of a lonely saxophone. Just a story. I start telling a story, and we're going to throw that lyric up, I think, eventually, and talk through it. Okay.
It's up there, yeah.
So, you know, you can see those points that I'm making here, and you know, in the beginning, we introduce a narrator, we introduce action. For instance, throw is better than open. I gave my character a language, you know, don't need no conversation. That's my character. And again, Tina was a good sort of avatar for me. And speaking of avatars, sometimes when you write your song, make up an avatar. If you don't have a person in mind, think of a composite and write right at them. You know, just distill your writing to one person, one situation, whatever it might be. So throughout this, you can see, object writing, lonely saxophone. Now, I love object writing. Pat Pattison has a book about it, or within his book. And all it means is giving sort of an emotion or something to something that doesn't normally have it. You apply one of the other senses, right? Sweet soul music is a great term. It doesn't have a taste, but if I say that, it conjures up something. Lonely saxophone to me meant, I'd just been in New Orleans, by the way, which is always good to use. I thought, I'm going to place her in a city in hot, beautiful New Orleans. I'd just been there, strange New Orleans. And I put her there, and I thought, when I was there was hardly any air conditioning, so you're throwing the windows open, literally. And I heard music from everywhere, as you do in New Orleans, you know. And I thought, that's a lonely-sounding jazz saxophone. So it conjured up a whole image to me. And that was one of my favorite imageries in the song, which is going to come back to bite me. I'll explain. So we're staying in character, right? Lonely saxophone, let the breeze take me away. Lines like that are better than saying, let's let air in the window. You know, you kind of move it along. So before the sun comes back to stay, this is an interesting point for us too. Sometimes you hit things that are cliches in your writing, and you want to avoid those whenever you can. Except cliches sometimes are cliches for a reason. Sometimes they're pretty good. So I could have said before tomorrow. That was a little too cliche to me. So all I did is rework a common line. I just said, okay, before the sun comes back to stay, it says what I want to say, but a little more poetically, right? Pre-chorus. Pre-chorus is in your songwriting. These days, we're going to talk a lot about structure as we weave these things in, but pre-choruses are meant to be short. They're shorter than they used to be. They're probably 2 lines, not 4. Pre-chorus sometimes can ground your idea. So in this case, I'm telling you a story about my lady who's in New Orleans in the hotel getting ready to go out somewhere and, you know, have a human touch. So that's what she's doing. But in the pre-chorus, I said, doing my best to forget you, but I can't do it on my own. So all that does is, if you are following the story of the lyric and you're not sure where we're going, that's where we're going. And then the chorus is going to tell you how we're going to do it. So those are pretty solid building blocks for any type song.
So one of the dangers, I mean, I've composed a lot of music, written a number of books, and thousands of articles and things. And one of the dangers for a creative person is that you start to edit and revise too soon. You know, it's a lot of times you'll find the advice is to separate the creation from the revision and the editing. Is that an approach you advise for songwriting as well?
Yeah, in the book I talk an awful lot about that because view it this way. When you're as far as we are right now in this song, kill the editor. However you want to view it. A friend of mine, John Berhaney, wrote a great book on songwriting. He said every part of the song is a journey. The destination is the chorus. When you start out, put the editor in the trunk so that he doesn't go, hey, I need to pee. Are you going to stop here? We're not going to eat there, are we? You're not going to make all these like editing decisions. You're going to get there and you're going to open the trunk and go, what do you think? That's a great way to view your editor. So we'll revive them later in our talk today, but for now, kill them. And also something I skipped over, Mitch, but I want to bring up a little bit is when I'm looking at a lyric, I am going to wonder whether I'm showing or telling. You want to show. It's a Nashville mantra, but it applies to any kind of music. You want to show in your lyric, don't tell. If you're only telling somebody, they can't see what you see. Showing is done with color and detail. What do things look like? You know, what do they smell like? What day was it? All that detail is all the way back to my point of that is the good stuff. Get it in there first, edit later.
So I think of that show don't tell is also, again, a literary thing as well. People talk about that. But is it something where I tend to think of that as more of a storytelling song in folk music or country music? Is that going to apply in a metal song? Is it, or, you know, those kind of things?
That's a great point because it applies differently in every genre. Country, of course, you've heard the phrase 3 chords and the truth. It's a great phrase because what it means is you have more room to show. You want 3 chords so that music and melody are not the primary driving thing behind your traditional country song. You are showing somebody a story. One of the great ways I heard that put was sometimes when you write country, if you wrote, there's a lot of truck songs, think of yourself writing from the truck inside out. Show me the truck and let the truck start to explain where you're going. But small, keep it small, keep it tight. Think of, I don't know how many are Bible readers out there. Parables in the Bible are great songwriting. They are small, it's usually a couple of characters, a lot of detail, you can see that, and that is so much better because when that parable's over, you go, oh, I get it, don't kill my neighbor, you know. If I write a song going, hey, don't kill your neighbor, you know, it's like, I don't, you know, okay, that's advice, and who needs advice? Storytelling is great for that, though. And the other thing I would think about always is I've written a lot of pop music, too, and I think about the purpose of my song, and I'll be blunt. I always go, is it to move the butt or the brain? If it's a butt song, I'm not going to show as much. It's not a big lyric. It's going to be move your butt, and here's a riff, and here's a lick, and here's a drum loop, and whatever it's going to be. Country, I'm thinking, I need to show this story, show it really well.
Right, that's awesome. I love that. So I think we have some slides here that have kind of the complete lyrics of the Dance with a Stranger song. Yeah. And why don't you take us through a little bit of how that progresses and how it works?
Well, let's see.
Maybe you'll pull the mic around, or I can give you this mic if you want.
You know, I could just,
further.
why don't I just go over here, put my glasses on because I need them. Let's see. Can you guys hear me okay if I just kind of yell?
Well, we should do this so that the live stream will. So the live stream.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. So, guys, that's better, huh? I explained a little bit about pre-chorus already, which is up there. Been doing my best to forget you. Second verse. Hear the city humming. That's object writing. That's good object writing. Cities don't hum, but you get the point. You've probably heard the phrase. Grab my shoes and go downtown. Again, action. Grab is better than put on. Simple stuff. Won't need no invitation. That's my character that talks like this throughout the song. Another good tool for you guys is read your lyric out loud to yourself endlessly. And if it sounds like something you would not say, get rid of it. I can't tell you how many, I coach writers all over the world all the time via Skype. A lot of times I'll see their lyric and it'll start with, I ain't got no reason to. I'll get down to the third verse and said, I shall never enter there again. And you're like, and you point it out to them, and they go, "Oh crap, I didn't see that." But I've seen it. I've done it too. You've probably done it. You write on your own, and you get fancier, but don't talk it out loud. And talking your lyric out loud also helps you make sure you got the same cadence in your verses, same rhyme scheme, because you need it. Again, this is for the listener. The listener picks up on your song that way. Don't want no man to ask me, where you been all my lonely life? Well, that's my character again. And twisting a common pickup line, where you been all my life? What an awful line, right? But I wanted this guy to be a tool, the guy that's talking to her. So I'm portraying a tool, but I'm with a little bit more being clever, I hope. Where you been all my lonely life? I added a word, but a little clever. Just want to move real slow. That's action. Have somebody hold me tight. I think there's another slide here. There we go. Okay, yeah. Been doing my best to forget you. Same pre-chorus, right? Same pre-chorus, same chorus. I'm a fan of doing that. When I see choruses that have different lyrics in them, I get worried. Because I think a listener, again, learns your song. They're not you and I. They're not songwriters. They're listeners and people that pick up on music. They are going to learn your chorus. And if you throw them a curve every chorus, they're going to start to go, I can't remember the song. So I love pre-choruses that say the same thing. Set me up again. Give me the same thing again. I'm almost always going to do that. The bridge. I love bridges, and I'm bummed because bridges are becoming a little bit extinct, especially in country music even now, different formats. But bridges should be a hook. Everything in your song should be a hook these days if you're writing commercially, right? Think about a bridge. The best way I heard it explained was not my idea, but it was a very good explanation. If there's something you haven't said in your song, try a bridge. If you need something to connect two things in your song, like a bridge, write a bridge. But just make sure that it looks different, sounds different. When you say it out loud, it should be different than the rest of your song. It should be a whole nother hook. So in this case, I'm back to my list. On my list is The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, which is absolutely taken from a book. I walked up and down the aisle. It's a 40s movie, very famous movie, and very famous, iconic book. Not so famous that I couldn't steal it. So it went on my list. And I'm looking at my bridge thinking, I need a little bit different language than I've been doing. I need a different viewpoint. I really looked at the list that day and went, let's start right there. That line looks different. Where can I go from there? So I just said, I hear the heart's a lonely hunter. I believe it to be true. This heart's learning to forget. I ever fell in love with you. A little bit different. That's my narrator. The one big point I would give you from this, a good takeaway, my friend Kai Fleming, who I write with a lot. Kai's in the Hall of Fame and wrote I Was Country When Country Wasn't Cool. And she's just unbelievable. And I used to bring in lyrics. She's a lyricist. So when we wrote, I wrote music, she wrote lyrics. But I would try to get my lyrics in. And occasionally she'd go, would you mind leaving a little hope in there? Because I'd write this breakup song or some idea, and she'd go, and she's very subtle. I don't know how long it took her to. She went, look, if you give people hope in the darkest song, they're going to love it. Don't leave them like going, oh, God, this woman's going to get murdered in New Orleans, Leave a little hope. Leave a little hope. So all I'm saying is this heart's learning to forget. So if you're a listener, you go, she's probably going to be all right. So that's that. Thanks, Mitch.
Sure. That's awesome. That's amazing to tour a song like that. And a song that there's kind of a story to where the whole thing ended up, right?
There's a great story behind this. So I mentioned Tina Turner to you, right? Because this was for Tina Turner. And here's another songwriting lesson I learned the hard way and too many times. I wish I'd learned it quicker. We demoed this song, and I wrote it on my own. I co-write a lot, but I wrote this on my own. My publisher and I were in L.A., and we went up to Capitol Records, which I wouldn't advise you doing either these days. But in those days, you kind of could get a little bit in the door a little better, right? My publisher gave it to somebody and said, this is the single for the greatest hits. Now, you need some serious hubris or stupidity to act like this usually because everybody's trying for this thing at this point. Every writer I know, everybody everywhere. And I'm thinking, excuse me, I've done my homework. I think this is good. We'll see where we go. About 2 hours later, we're out to lunch. We get a call from Capitol Records going, we passed this around. This is the single. we're putting it on hold. Don't play it for anybody. We think you've got it. This is it. We love it. And so I'm going to recommend something else you don't do. Don't call your wife or husband and go, let's get a new car, a new house. It's Tina freaking Turner. It's a single, It's not final till it's vinyl. You put that on your desk too, right? Because here's what happened. So I'm thinking, this is easy. I know my stuff. Check this out, and it's just crazy. So I go home and they call and go, they're not doing it. And now I'm thinking, mortgage, old car. It's going downhill. What happened was, the lesson in this for me was Tina Turner, like Beyonce or anybody right now, major artists do not want to repeat themselves. They do not want to clone. They do not want a song that they can just step right in without feeling like they're progressing or they got something new to say. So this song got all the way to Tina. Tina looked at it and went, no, done it. So again, crashing. In my book, I talk about thriving and surviving and grieving. I won't stay on this, but if you read it, read the grieving chapter because it's important as a creative person for you guys and for me and Mitch and everybody is here to learn to really grieve these losses and get past them, not over them. Get past them. Keep moving because you will deal with more animosity and turn downs than you will success in this business. You gotta keep being resilient. So I'm thinking, well, let's move on. And the phone rings. And in this really thick New York accent that, forgive me, this guy goes, Mark Cawley there. I said, this is Mark. And he went, Taylor Dane's going to call you in 5 minutes. And I said, great, I don't know Taylor Dane, but I'm thinking life's looking better. She does, at the time, doing really well. I thought, here we go. So the phone rings again, 5 minutes, and she goes, Cawley, which is, I don't know if you guys like being called by your last name, but me not so much. So I'm thinking, this is not going to go well. She said, Cawley, I love your song. I just want you to change one line. Now, Mitch knows these scenarios too. So if you're working with major artists, sometimes they will change one line and ask for a big fat part of your song. So I'm thinking, here we go. But she wasn't. She said, I want you to change one line. And I said, as you're in those days especially, I'm going, I'll change whatever you want to change. I'll change my sex if I need, whatever will get me a song. So I said, and I stupidly said, can I ask you what line? That wasn't the stupid part. But I said, what line? She said, the one about the saxophone. I'm thinking, I like that. That's my cool line, I thought, Put some heart in that baby and thought. And this was stupid. So rather than go, yes, ma'am, I said, can I ask you why? And she said, because I don't have an effing saxophone in my band. And as a songwriter, you're thinking, what does that matter? But luckily, I had that much filter, and I went, 5 minutes will be good. I'll have your saxless line, So 5 minutes later, calls me back. I read her a few lines, and she said, okay, to one of them, and didn't ask for any of the song, did the song, my first gold record. It's been done before. It did. The song did great. So I think we're going to play you just a little bit of her version. This is Taylor Dane's version. Get any of these vocal ad-libs off me.
On a warm summer evening, I'm dancing to the radio alone. Don't need no conversation, just want a new love to call on my own. I throw the window open, I let the breeze take me away. I gotta lose this old heartache before the sun comes round back to stay. Now I've been doing my best to forget you, but I can't do it on my own. No, I need to dance with a stranger and hold up in my arms, close my eyes, make believe he's you. I need to dance with a stranger and take my
Thank you. Thank you. There was I want to add one little thing that, if I could, Mitch. When I talked about clone songs, I was writing, like most writers, I thought, I'm going to write to somebody and they're going to love it. And I was always getting almost there. Everybody loved it. Label loves it. Producers love it. Sometimes the artist said no. The nice ending of this story is eventually Tina Turner recorded a song that I wrote with Brenda Russell and Kai Fleming, two awesome writers, called Dancing in My Dreams. That sold 6 million. So I got my Tina Turner, but the way I got it was years later, 3 of us got in a room and said, you know what? Forget the briefs. Forget what we think we know. Let's write something that's going to knock ourselves out. That's all we're going to do. We're not quitting until we go, wow, till you're in tears, till it's wonderful, till you can't not hear it. Actually, you get to a point where you go, and I hope you guys have been there, where you go, I don't even care if anybody loves it. I love it. It's so, it's so good. That's what we did. That was the first of many that started getting cut by the artists I've been turned down for. So Tina does a song that didn't sound like her at all to me. But next thing I know, she's on Oprah going, we found this song, and this is the beginning of this new project and album, and this is how I feel. And you're going, yikes, okay.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Great stories and great production on that as well. Great song. So if jumping back to the process, we've got this currently deceased editor who's probably going to come back as a zombie.
Yes.
Right? And you've got your song written. Mm-hmm. So then what's the process of taking it to the point where it's done?
Okay. Can I borrow your mic again?
Yeah.
Put my glasses on and we'll do this. So, over the years, especially coaching people now, it became more important to come up with a checklist because done as that thing says, done is fun. Who doesn't like to get done? But guys, one of the hardest things to remember is you write the first draft. Mitch knows this from writing books, I'm sure, too. You write the first draft with your heart. You write the second one with your head. Use your head. Take some time. Go back through it. Make sure it's really good. Don't let it go until you are sure it's good. So let's look at a couple of done ideas. So this is my list. Is it relatable? Am I writing about something that people really care about? Okay. I'm hoping, again, that you're writing for the love of writing and that you write things you love. But if the marketplace is a consideration, think of whether people are interested in what you're writing about. Think of the main emotions, love, hate, jealousy, envy. Are you writing about something someone can relate to? And again, you are writing with color and detail to show them something. And at the end of the day, you're going to hope that your idea reminds them of something that's important to them. That's relatable, and relatable is awfully big in this idea. Am I showing or not telling? We talked about that, including enough color and detail. Is there a better concept? This is something I could talk a lot about. We don't have that much time, but I love second concepts. If you have an idea for your song based on your title, for instance, put it aside for a minute and take all the time in the world and think, is there something outside the box? Is there another reason to write this? Could it be something else? And usually there is, and that something else can be a lot more interesting than the first thing we think of, right? So concepts. Does my song breathe? Now, this is a biggie. This is a melody and lyric thing. Someone told me this a long time ago, and it stuck because it's smart. Your song is made up of two things that inhabit your song, the melody and the lyric. They need to breathe. Again, 3 chords in the truth, a lot of lyric. That's the theory. Make sure one is supporting the other, and it's not all busy. When I coach brand new writers, a lot of times they'll throw in a lot of words and a lot of melody, and it's exhausting, and you can't remember it. So take a look at your song and go, is it a melody song? Is it a butt or a brain? Is my chorus memorable? Well, it better be, because again, if you do a chorus and you can't remember it, you need a better chorus because it's got to stick in somebody's head pretty quick. Have I been self-indulgent? Well, I'll fess up to this. You do it. You think you got a lot of good ideas, and you throw them all in, and you can't bear to part with any of them. Just because you got them doesn't mean they belong. So again, go back through. I have to do it too, and you go, I love that line, but it's got to go. It's not supporting my prose. Whatever the reason, don't be self-indulgent. Is a hook and is the intro a hook or just a space to fill? Well, we're back in the short attention span, soundbite mentality of music right now, good or bad, love it or hate it. Everything needs to be a hook. Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, who I love, said somebody asked him how he writes songs, and he said, "I write nothing but hooks, and I pick the best one. That's the chorus. The rest are in the song." If you can do that, isn't that brilliant? I mean, make them all memorable. The intro, everything. Is my bridge a real departure? I won't spend a lot of time on that, but it should be. And if you're going to have one, make sure it doesn't sound like the rest of your song. Is everything in a hook too much information? Yeah. Think of your song this way as a lyricist, especially. The story in your song belongs in the verses, belongs in the bridge. It doesn't belong in the chorus. A listener is going to learn your chorus first. They're going to learn your story through color and detail. But if you keep the detail going all through the chorus, the listener is going to start to go like, this is just a lot of information. So your information belongs where it belongs, and it's usually in the verse lyric and in the bridge. How long is my song? Well, again, guys, if you're writing for the marketplace, you need to look at the marketplace and go, okay, nobody's going to play a song that's 4.5 minutes long. This is not 67, you know, where the Doors could come out with an 8-minute song or something. You need a song that is 3 minutes, 3:15. It needs to be in that format as best you can. Which I like too. I think that's a challenge for you. We are in an art form, and it is an art form, so all the songwriting you do, and you do an incredible job within that art form, you know, within the frame. Check the idea. Again, I love title writing for that idea. I'll look at it and go, that's a pretty good idea. I'm not talking about have I done it yet, but I'm going to go, that's something worth writing about. Have I referenced back to prose, self-explanatory? I'm going to look at it and go, does everything support my title, or have I gotten way off here in my third verse or something? On the melody side, does my chorus lift? Well, it should, guys. Probably, with the exception of maybe an A-B form or AA form like Ring of Fire or those kind of songs. You know, your melody needs to hit somewhere. Usually the highest part's going to be in the chorus. The listener needs to know they're in that chorus. So, yeah, it needs to lift when it can. Have I studied current song structure? Well, again, you should. Deconstruct songs. Deconstruction is huge. You know, look at a song, make your own notes. I'll print lyrics out to hit songs and go, what's going on here? Okay, this is what's happening. Deconstruct songs because it gets in your DNA as a writer, so that when you write, I'm not talking about copying songs. I'm saying these techniques will get in your DNA as a writer, and you're better for it, especially if you're writing for a marketplace. The biggest one of all time is this one here. Do I love it? And I'm just going to say, if you don't love it, you're not going to fool somebody. I've had clone songs cut. I'm going to admit, I've written songs for an artist where someone cut it, right? And you think, okay, I don't love it, but somebody will. Well, the odds go way up if you love it first. It just makes common sense, but I got to admit, I didn't think that way in the beginning. I thought marketplace, make a living, get blah, 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 blah. I didn't stop to just go, do I love this? Do I love it? As soon as I did, it was like dominoes. You know, Joe Cocker did a song finally that I loved. All these at Chaka Khan, the ones you heard earlier, were songs that I loved. I didn't know if they were going to fit them or even that they were being pitched to them at the time, but I loved them first. So that's my checklist, guys. Thanks.
You bet. Thank you. That's awesome. That's an awesome list.
Thank you.
So I have a question that's a little bit off of what we were talking about here, but you know, as artists and creative people, we tend to fall in love with our ideas.
Yeah.
And you know, as an editor of magazine articles, I'd assign somebody a 500-word review of an Isotope Spire, and I'd get back 1,500 words. And people have asked me, how do you edit that? How do you get it to fit in that 500-word space? Yeah. And frequently what would happen is I'd get the article, I'd open it up, and it'd say, I woke up on Monday morning, it was a beautiful sunny day, and I thought, I'm going to go in my studio. Oh, and a box had arrived from UPS, and I thought, well, I'll open that up, and well, there was a spire inside. And so what I learned to do over the years, both with my stuff and with other people's stuff, is to say, why do I care? Yep. And the red pencil comes out, right? Don't care when you woke up. Don't care what the day was like. Don't care when UPS arrived. Don't care. And so even writing the instrumental parts, productions, effects that you put into your production, you know, all those kind of things. Is that an approach that you take in that editing process, or what do you recommend?
Yes, that's a great. You know, if you have, God willing, you get a publisher. Publishers are great for that because, and you know, they're the voice of reason. You love all your babies in the song, and not all your babies need to go to Ivy League school. You know, some of them are vocational school ideas, and a publisher figures that out, and they go, and you go, but and they go, throw it out. You know, throw it out. Get to it. Mitch reminded me of like a funny, very quick story. Sort of related, but I had a meeting one time with Simon Cowell, the Simon Cowell you know. And he's an A&R guy in England at this point. And he was looking out the window, and I went in with a friend of mine who'd had meetings with him and a lot of success with him. And but I'd never met him. So Simon's looking out the window at what we later learned was his new car. And he finally turns around, and my friend's name is Elliot, and he goes, "Hey, Elliot, how you doing?" He looks at me and goes, "Who are you and why should I care?" And I went, "Oh, shit." And I thought, here we go. And he went, "I'm kidding," you know. But I took that in a lot of different ways, including when I meet somebody. I think I only have that long to kind of go, this is what I do, this is who I am. I would recommend you guys work on that today. Because if you're face-to-face with that meeting you want, that opportunity you want, and you go, I don't really know, you lost it. And if you can say, this is what I do, I'm a songwriter. And there's another good point off the script here, guys, but if you guys write songs, you are a songwriter. It does not matter if you've made a dime, any of that stuff. You're a songwriter, right? So you tell people that, and you tell them as succinctly as you can, and they'll care.
It goes back to what you're saying about aliens and what you
yeah.
call the elevator speech, I guess, right?
That's another good term, sure.
You have
Elevator
1 minute
speech.
in the elevator with someone. How do you describe what you do or what your album sounds like or what your song sounds like?
That's it. And I would practice it. I mean, I've always practiced it. Along with making a mission statement, a lot of other things. It's important for you to know who you are as a writer and who you're not.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So once you've finished your song, now you're at the point where you have to do something with that song. And I'm sure a lot of the questions that, if we had time to open up for questions would be, what do I do with the song? How has the business changed? What are the opportunities at this point? Can you take us a little bit through how that all works?
Sure. In my book, Crass Commercialism, I like to say that. I haven't got to say that too much yet. In my book, there's a chapter called DIY, Do It Yourself. The reason that exists is I would recommend doing a lot yourself, but let's start with the business. You need to be a student of the business. If you are a songwriter, and again, if your aim is to get anybody to take that song, you need to understand the business. Business has changed dramatically. When iTunes came out, we all remember that. As a songwriter, I love everything about Apple and still do. When that came out, I went, uh-oh, because me and a lot of my friends could make a really good living with a song that was not the single, it was an album cut on a big album, right? That could be $80,000, it could be, depending on how many people wrote it. It's good, and publishers will give you money for that, and everything was great. When that happened, and they don't pick my song from that album, they pick your song, you make all the money, I make nothing. So the pie began to shrink like mad. Trickle down to publishers who no longer could give you that big advance unless you write the singles. Almost just common sense. It changed so drastically for songwriters. So if you are, hell-bent on making a lot of money, you've got to really aim for singles because that's what's going to attract a publisher. That's what's going to make your money. These are, and Mitch, you know these terms, but performance and mechanical. Mechanical royalties are the money that was made or is made from physical sales, CDs, things you can hold. Performance royalty is literally that, wherever your song is performed, radio, television, that's where the money is. Always has been, but now it's where all the money is. Because unless you're Ed Sheeran, Adele, Beyonce, who else can we pick? Not many, those people still sell records, still whatever a record is, CD, whatever the product is. Everybody else is streaming, downloading, looking for that performance money. So I also want to take you really through, somebody asked me this when I saw them the other day in here, said, what does a publishing deal look like then? Here's what it looks like. I actually have a client here, Jane, who's had a few of these, who's done really well, Jane Sachs. And a publisher will approach you and go, okay, I love your song. And I'm going to use all my resources to get it in front of artists, which they've always done, right? And pay you for your demo or re-record the demo, whatever you need to do. And then here's where you need to hold your breath, because the next thing is I'm not giving you any money because the pie is shrunk. This is reality. So they're going to give it their expertise. They're not going to give you a living wage, certainly, again, because the mechanicals disappeared. If your song makes it on an album, they don't care, because it's not going to make money. They need that big single. So it can happen, though. You can get a couple of these single song contracts, and if you're ever offered one, by the way, make sure it's got a revision. Your song comes back to you if they can't land it. That's a biggie. And if anybody is reputable, they're going to offer you that. If they want the life of your song and things like that, run. Excuse me. If they ask for writer's share, run. That's being asked for more and more. They should be saying, we're going to take all of the publishing. Again, gulp. But if you're a new writer, you make 50 cents as a writer, 50 cents as a publisher, give them the publishing because that's how you're going to get heard and known. As you get more popular, you can demand some of that publishing back. That's what a co-pub is. So let's say the best scenario, you've had some success. Now they're going to offer you a deal, a long-term deal. You may know the term staff writer. I wouldn't use that term anymore. I don't think there are staff writers. There are assigned writers, but staff writing idea is kind of not happening anymore. So that's what I would wish for you. That that's still a holy grail. But here's the DIY part, and forgive me a second. So how do you do it yourself? I'm going to give you a couple of stories. One of my favorites is I have a client named Susan Moranti in Australia. And Susan is really good songwriter, really good artist. But nothing's really gelling for her, right? And she had a song called Blue is the Hottest Flame. And as I do with a lot of clients, I go, let's think outside the box. So let's Google the word blue. That's how silly we got. The next week when I coached her, she said, well, there's a rugby team in my area called the something blue, or the Blues, I think. I said, you know what? Find a contact, which you can do. I can do, you can do. Google things, music supervisors, contact info, anywhere. She contacted him. They said, you know what? No one's ever offered us a song. What is it you want? This is how silly it got, but it was great. And they said, come in the office. This is a novelty. We're a rugby team. You're a songwriter. Come up and play us a song. She played it. They loved it. And they said, we'll use it in commercials. And it became a usage, like a sync. And by the way, sync, you're hearing a lot about sync probably. Sync has now overtaken every other way of making money for your song. Pay lots of attention anywhere you can. But in my case, think DIY. What can you do? And again, your song might be someone's solution. They might be looking for a connection. They can't afford to take a Rolling Stones song. But if you've written a song about satisfaction, and your song is 10 grand and theirs is $250,000, you're going to get 10 grand. So think outside the box.
Have you done that with a lot of your songs?
Well, I'm going to tell you one. Let's join the perils part of the journey. So, let's grab this again. I'll try to make this story short, but it's kind of funny as it turned out. So, like songwriters tend to do, Mitch is a fabulous guitar player. I'm not a fabulous guitar player. Guitars for me are a means to an end. They are, or keyboards or any other instrument is, can I write a song out of it? And songwriters have the joke, like, if there's no songs in it, I'm going to get rid of it. I probably have 5 guitars, and as soon as there are no songs in them, they're going out the door for something else. So in this case, I thought, I'm running out of songs. I don't even know what I got rid of, but I looked at an Epiphone casino like Lennon and Harrison used to play. Beautiful blonde one, and I thought, never had one of these. I wonder if it's got any songs. So I got it, and soon after I'm going like, and I'm starting to go, na 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 na. Very Beatles. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Very Beatles, you know. The Beatles channeling right through that guitar, and I'm going, good investment. Except, I thought, what am I going to do with this kind of a Beatles song? I don't know who's going to record a Beatles. It was so Beatles, not on purpose. I mean, really just coming out. So I thought I'm going to have fun with it. I wasn't even thinking really DIY at the point, even though I'm so big on it. I thought I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to take all my songwriting buddies and I'm going to do the track, and I had the track done more than my acoustic. Like, it sounded pretty cool. And I said I'm going to send it to buddies and let them contribute a line apiece or a title or whatever they want to do, and let's just have fun with it. And that happens. I do workshops in Spain and the UK and all these places, and that sometimes is an exercise you would do. You know, do it for a day and piecemeal it and see what you got. You know, so that was my idea, and I did a good demo, and I sent it first of all to Kai Fleming, who I mentioned to you, this wonderful writer. Kai calls me back and goes, "You are not doing your exercise. I've written your song." And I said, "Well, you know, what are you going to say?" And I said, "Wow, the only direction I gave her and would have given everybody is think a little bit of Lennon speak. You know, nothing you can do that can't be done, nothing you can win that can't be won." So Kai came back with this, like, "What if there was nothing to fight? Nothing going wrong, only right. What if we imagined peace until it all came true? Come on, what would Lennon do?" Yeah, me too. I went, oh, shit, there's the song. You know. So now I'm not giving it to anybody, and I got a hold of my friend Kevin Savagar in L.A., who does Rod Stewart, and he's a wonderful writer and producer. We Beatled this baby up. We made it Harrison sounding, and it's just gorgeous, right? Well, I'll play you a little bit of it when we're done with the story. But again, thinking, okay, what do I do with it now? You know, this is not really a pitchable song. It's so Beatle-like and so Lennon-like. And again, not to clone, it just was natural, so I'm going with it. And then as songwriters do, Kai and I got together, like you start thinking a little bit of money or marketplace, and we said, what is the essence of this thing? And she wrote this brilliant lyric, just a wonderful lyric, right? And we said, well, it's about peace. And here's where the old marketers come in. We went, who does peace? And we said, well, the UN does peace. We said, who do we know at the UN? And again, guys, you can do this. We didn't have a big connection, right? But I thought, I think I have a friend that used to work at the UN. So I called her and said, we have a song. Is this insane? I mean, could we send it to the UN and see what happens? Because it's a peace, you know, anthem. And she said, yeah, I'll give you a number. I called the number. They went, again, like, nobody sends a song? Sure, send a song. Again, this is the spirit you have to have, guys. Somebody else is going to go, you are a fool. And I wasn't embarrassed. I thought, what are they going to say? No. I thought they'd say no, you know. So the next thing happens is this person from the UN goes, the Secretary General is playing your song of the UN. We love it. And we're thinking, yeah. And they said, but what do you want to do with it? And we said, oh, geez, you know, the DIY didn't go that far. You know, what do you want to do with it? And they said, we'll put it in the gift shop. And Kai and I went, gift shop? That's not exactly as high as we were aiming. So we said, okay, we'll get back to you. And back to the drawing board. And we thought, who else does peace? And yeah, it sounds crass, doesn't it? I do peace. So Kai said, what about Amnesty International? I have a friend who deals with Amnesty International. So we get a hold of them. They go send us the song. And so we did. And it's called What Would Lennon Do, right? And they loved it. Loved it. So again, we're thinking, wow, DIY has gone a long way here. And they said, what do you want to do with it? And we said, what do you want to do with it? And they said, well, you guys probably need a reason for it to exist. It was this silly of a conversation. Meantime, here's where it gets really funny. I see an article about John Lennon's 75th birthday celebration being filmed and done live in New York City, coming right up at Christmas time, pretty close to Christmas. And in my own, hubris is a good term, stupidity is another good term. I thought, hey, let's get the song on the John Lennon tribute. Not thinking, why on earth would they do a song that John Lennon didn't write on the John Lennon tribute? But then I saw a name in here, and I won't spend time on this, but organic networking, guys. Whoever you know from any walk of life may tie into your plan here. Keep good track of that organic network. Mitch, you probably have one, people you've known forever. Sure. You're not working them, you're working with them, right? So in the article, I see Kenny Aronoff is one of the music supervisors for the John Lennon. You've met Kenny, I'm sure. Sure. He's a friend of Sweetwater, has been up here many times. Absolute best drummer. I mean, he's just awesome drummer and an old friend. So I thought, again, thinking, don't ask, don't get, which is a good motto for you as a songwriter too. So I get a hold of Kenny, and he said, what do you got? I said, I'll get this John Lennon song, and I noticed you are, supervising some of the music. And he went, yeah. And I said, I've got this Lennon song, and here's a reoccurring theme. Kenny said, are you an idiot? Why are they going to do a John Lennon song on a John Lennon tribute that John Lennon didn't write? I said, I know, but Kenny said, send it to me anyway. So maybe a week later, I get a call, and it's Kenny in the Atlanta airport, and he goes, I love this song. He said, this is like a Lennon song. It's an anthem. It needs to be heard. What should we do? And I said, how about you take that song to the producer of the show and see if we can get it on the show. I don't know what that means. So Kenny, I could hear him suck in breath, but that's what friends are for, right? So Kenny goes, I'm going to get my head handed to me, but I'll give it a shot. He gave it a shot. They loved it, but they came back and said, why on earth would we do a song? You can feel it coming, right? I don't need to say it anymore. Why would we do it? We went back to Amnesty and said, well, we thought we had an idea. Amnesty said, this is DIY, right? Everybody's thinking. Amnesty said, you know what? We have ambassadors. We have Sting, Bono, Annie Lennox, all of the ambassadors. What if we got one of them to show up and do the song? Now we are DIYing big time. I'm thinking, wow, yeah, we're going to do this. And every day we're getting calls, God's truth. Bono loves it. Bono's learning it. Sting's learned it. Everybody loves it. Somebody's going to do it. We're happy. I'm thinking DIY is the way to go. And wow, isn't this just easy in a way, right? Except the producer of the show said, okay, we told them that idea. They said, you get one of those people here, your song's on the show, the only song in the John Lennon tribute that John Lennon didn't write. Now we don't look so crazy. It's going to be in the show. We do a contract for it with the stipulation that one of those people has to be on the stage in New York to do the song live and taped it right around Christmas. And they fell like dominoes. We went back to each one. They said, I'm here. I can't get to New York. It's Christmas. John Legend, Alicia Keys, all through this list of people loving it. Even Yoko loved it, and that one scared the hell out of me that she might sing it. But I was happy she loved it, but the vision in my head was like, okay, well, all right. We can't get anybody there. We missed the deadline, 11th hour, didn't make the show. So Amnesty still has it. We still hope for the best, but we can play a little bit of the song. Yeah.
Until it all came true. Come on, what would Lennon do?
There you go.
Awesome. Awesome. So unfortunately, we're out of time, but I got to do 2 quick plugs here. First of all, Isotope Spire. I know you're using this as your songwriting tool.
I am.
And it's incredible. Be sure and check this out.
I love
Multi-track recorder, so
Getting
easy to
ideas
use.
down quick. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
And the other one is Song Journey is available in Dave's Music Den in the retail store here at Sweetwater. If you want to dig deeper into everything that Mark's been talking about here, as well as a bunch of great stories and a lot of great advice, you definitely want to check out the book. You're around, right?
I am. I'll be in the bookstore signing books.
And there's
right
a table up
after
here with more information as well. Thank you so much. Please thank Mark Cawley.
this. Thank you, guys. Thank you.